For the first time in history, we may have created drugs that can actually treat obesity. And that would potentially be massive because 42% of Americans deal with obesity in some way, and this is a global issue, and previous attempts at new drugs or new treatments have never proved to be effective. And this was seen as such a lost cause over the last few decades that many of the major pharmaceutical companies didn't even study or try to treat obesity as a disease, and instead viewed it as a moral failing. But now a new slew of drugs are having meaningful effects on patients where they're losing some of their appetite or they're feeling more satisfied with smaller portions of food. Novo Nordisk, the $315 billion pharmaceutical giant, is already becoming a leader in this space and have 2 drugs currently on the market, Wegovy and Ozempic. And some recent clinical trials from Novo Nordisk have shown that some of these drugs are even able to help treat things like heart attacks or strokes. So how did this go from hopeless cause to now a booming multi-billion-dollar drug industry? It actually started with diabetes research, where they had a drug known as Byetta that had to be taken twice a day for diabetes patients. And so to extend the release and have it last longer in the body, they started wrapping it in different blood proteins. And what was really happening here was these drugs were targeting something called GLP-1, which is a hormone in the body that regulates a number of different things, but it's activated and actually secretes upon food consumption. And again, at the time, they were still just trying to have a better drug for diabetes. And so when they wrapped this GLP-1 drug in a blood protein for longer release, they noticed a really interesting side effect. People were actually losing weight on the drug. And in a completely different study, scientists were actually studying pancreatic cancer in rats and used a similar drug attacking that GLP-1 hormone, and they found something really interesting happen. Some of these rats were actually losing so much of their appetite that they were starving themselves to death. So Novo Nordisk, the company that we mentioned before, had a decision to make. Until now, a lot of their business, about 50% of their business, was in diabetes. So would they continue to be a diabetes company, or would they focus on weight loss? And in 2017, they launched the drug you may have heard of, Ozempic, as a diabetes drug. And while at the time, they couldn't market it as a weight loss drug, people were getting it prescribed and using it in that way. So in 2021, Novo Nordisk launched a higher dose version of Ozempic that was focused and could be marketed specifically on weight loss. This led to an aggressive social media push by the company. And I am just about to run out of time, so this is my first ever 2-part TikTok video. So stay tuned for the next one. I'll talk about a few companies that are playing in this space and what this means for the future of healthcare potentially.